Hello guys, Assalamualaikum. We meet again with me, Waliuddin, Nur Waliuddin Hanis. And today we're gonna learn about standards and quality of forensics DNA typing. What is standard? Standard is some minimum requirement to achieve that quality. So standard is also applied in many scientific technique like DNA typing. So today we're gonna learn standards and quality of forensic DNA typing. Bismillah. Okay, outcome of the topic. So this topic expected you to know a little bit about validation, quality control, quality assurance, and accreditations. Validation. Okay, first of all, validation is important aspect of adopting and implementing new technology. Okay, adopting and implementing new technology in forensic DNA typing to ensure adopted technique is robust. Adopted. Okay, when we when we use new DNA kits or new reagents or applying different methods, maybe different extraction methods, different PCR methods, or different STR typing methods, okay, or maybe we bought another new genetic analyzer. So that's mean we are going to adopting and implementing new technology. So when we use new things, new technology, so that's why we have to validate to get the reproducible, reliable, and robust. Because we need to prove that with these new things adopted or implemented, still the data generated is similar. All right, that's why we have to validate. Okay, quality control QC refers to measures that are taken to ensure that the DNA typing result and its interpretation meets a specific standard of quality. So this is related to the result and also interpretation. So the result that we are generated and also the interpretation of the result must meet a specific standard of quality. Okay, so this is about day-to-day activity. As a lab technologist or lab analyst, is the day-to-day activity that will ensure the quality of your DNA typing result. Quality assurance QA. QA is a program, includes the systematic action necessary to demonstrate that a product or service meets specific requirement of quality. Quite confusing, but quality assurance is very related to the quality control, but quality control is day-to-day activities. It is your practice. Quality assurance is a systematic program, that we have to follow to make sure that our DNA typing is achieving some quality. So, because of quality assurance include a lot of elements, which is quality of the personnel, the lab, the technologies, the lab manager, the the analysts, the quality of the personnel. Do they have minimum requirement or bachelor? Do you or master to be qualified as the personnel in the lab? So the lab facilities, evidence control, validated protocol, equipment calibration and maintenance, report and review, proficiency test, and also audit. So all these elements we have to follow in order to get the standard, right? So competency of the lab. This is one of the element in quality assurance. Competency of the lab includes the integral competency of the individual working in the labs. For example, minimum requirement. They must have a bachelor degree in biochemistry, genetics, molecular biology, and with 6 months of DNA labs experience. Okay, this requirement is based on United States Standard Department. Okay, and the technical leader must possess master degree with 3 years experience and training in statistics or population genetics is required of the examiner of or the analyst, whereas actual coursework in this area is required for the technical leader. Okay, because this training in statistics and also population genetics is very essential in interpretation of DNA typing result. So it is very important after you generate the result of DNA typing. So you have to calculate the statistic or the probability or the paternity exclusion chance. Okay, so all that terms is included in the population genetics and also statistics. So another elements of quality assurance is laboratory facilities. Okay, so first, access to the laboratory should be controlled and limited. Not everyone can enter your lab unless you have the access card. And then separate area must exist for PCR amplification, evidence examination, DNA extraction, because we want to avoid contamination between these process. So that's why we have to have a separated areas of all this activity. So these practices to avoid another elements of quality assurance is evidence control. Okay, evidence is the sample itself, the crime scene sample. So the crime scene sample must mark clearly for identification. Okay, so the chain of the custody must be maintained for all evidences. Okay, so whenever possible, it is recommended the lab to spare, to retain a portion of that samples or extract for possible future DNA testing. Yeah, maybe in the crime scene you found blood. Okay, so to store blood in a long term is quite difficult. So that's why to retain, we must to extract the blood first to get the DNA. So DNA is just a very small, we can store DNA in just a very small 1.5 microliter tube, microcentrifuge tube. Cool. So we have to make sure that the sample is marked clearly, maintain the chain of custody, and also, if possible, spare or retain the extracted DNA of that sample for future testing. And then the protocol must be validated. All test methods in the DNA section of a lab must be validated prior to their use in casework. Usually, we use the commercial kit. So the commercial kits like Kaijin has been validated by the manufacturer. So if you use that kit following the manufacturer's protocol, so we still comply the validated protocol unless you use your own method, so you have to validate that method prior to use in your casework. Okay, this validation include both developmental validation as well as internal validation. Methods that are not specified in the protocol but are employed need to be performed by reputable sources and appropriate. Okay, that's why I said that if you are not use the commercial kit or commercial uh, protocol, you create your own protocol, so that protocol must be validated first. And one more, control is very important. Positive control, negative control is very important and must be included every in every reaction. Equipment calibration and maintenance. Your equipment must be calibrated and maintained. Okay, what that mean? Are you sure that the pipette that you use, if you take 100 microliter, when you push that pipette, is that 100 microliter? Okay, that's why the pipette and all the equipment in the lab must be calibrated regularly to ensure that your equipment is functional. Reports writing and review process. Okay, report writing. After we generate the data, we have to interpret the data. For example, is that particular person is the parents of that child? Okay, so when you generate the data, such as STR allele profile, so you have to interpret and do report, and this report will be sent to your customer or to your patient, and this report should be understandable by your customer. You may use some layman term, or you have to explain to them what are the data or what are the report is all about. Okay, so report should be included, although not be limited, a case identifier. Okay, so all the report must have a number or a code, description of the evidence examined. Maybe the evidence is blood, maybe the evidence is a brain sample, bone sample. Okay, a description of the methodology. Okay, from the first method is storing the sample, how you store the sample, how you extract the sample, how you amplify the sample, using what kit, what locus of STR that you examine, how the result is, and also the conclusions. Okay, so that is included in the report case. A qualitative or quantitative interpretive statement, they issued disposition of the evidence and a signature identifying the person writing the report. Okay, this is the most important. The report must be signed by the authorized person. Okay, a technical review will be more thorough, addressing the technical procedure employed and verifying that the results support the conclusion reached. The technical review process is essential in documenting the quality peer review process of the laboratory. Okay, these are also one of the elements in quality assurance to ensure that our machine, our reagent, our kit is function well and also reliable, reproducible, and robust. We have to do a proficiency testing. Okay, how they conduct this PT proficiency testing is by inter-laboratory comparison program. Okay, let's see what HID DNA practice is. We getting the samples from Jabatan Kimia Malaysia, Petaling Jaya. So we do the same sample that has been done in Jabatan Kimia Malaysia, and we compare the result with the same samples. Are we gonna produce the same result? So if we got the same result, that means our methods, our kits, our machines are having the same quality of Jabatan Kimia Malaysia. Okay, that is, we compare between two lab. Okay, this program is called proficiency testing. This is also one of the elements to get the quality assurance. To receive accreditation, so the lab must be audited. So the quality assurance audit is independent evaluation to document competency within a quality system. Someone from outside must inspect the lab. That is called audit. Okay, ISO. ISO. I believe that most of you have heard about ISO, but what is the meaning of ISO? International Organization for Standardization. Okay, what is that means if the lab is accredited with ISO? That means the lab is recognized by the international organization. So there are several codes in ISO. So I would like you to focus on this code 17025. This code is for is a document. It's a document that elaborates a general requirement for the competence of testing and calibration laboratories. For example, HID DNA unit, a DNA testing lab. So to be competent, they must they must follow the description in the ISO 17025. Another lab is, for example, calibration lab. Calibration lab is doing a calibration testing for equipment. To do the calibration, they also must follow the general requirement in ISO 17025. Okay, another code is ISO 9001. This document describing the quality management system to granted with this ISO. First, they require the demonstrated management commitment, which means you must create your own organization, and then you must have a control documentation, and then you must do regular audit and review. These all activity or procedure is to ensure that management system is effective and efficient. Okay, this is the management of HID DNA unit. A lab must have lab manager, technical manager, quality manager, deputy technical manager, marketing officer, and so on. So this is the management chart. And also documentation. Okay, documentation. Documentation, for example, we must keep all the CV of all these personnel. We must keep all the CV, all the training that have been attained by all these personnel, qualification of personnel are kept in a file. All the reagent, all the protocol being used, the example of documentation. So we must keep all this document in control manner. And this management and document and the personnel will be regularly audit and review. to ensure that the management system is effective and efficient. Okay, when a lab is granted by ISO, so this standard Department of Standard Malaysia will give SAMM number for that particular lab. For example, for HID DNA unit, the SAMM number is 568. What is the meaning of SAMM? Scheme Akreditasi Makmal Malaysia. Okay, so this lab has been granted with ISO 17025. So the data, the interpretation, the report by this lab is recognized international. Okay, so accreditation. Accreditation is defined as officially recognized or authorized of the performance quality by accreditation organization. Okay, in Malaysia, the only body for accreditation organization is SAMM or Department of Standard Malaysia. Okay, this is the body that responsible to give this ISO or accreditation for independent lab. An accredited lab is competent and has the quality in the work performed by qualified and trained personnel in accordance with approved and documented protocol. Like I said before, if so it is important to be recognized and to get this accreditation, because if a lab having these accreditations, so that's mean that the lab is competent and has the quality to perform and have qualified and trained personnel and also approved and documented protocol. So all these criteria is being tested during the accreditation process. Department of Standard Malaysia is under the Ministry Science, Technology and Innovation, which is under Khairi Jamaluddin. All duties and functions are governed by Standard of Malaysia Act 1996 under Act 546. Okay, so if you want to know more about this Department of Standard Malaysia, you can go to this link. Okay, so how to apply accreditation from Department of Standard Malaysia? This is the flowchart. First, a lab to be accredited, they must apply. They must first apply, and then they have to do some self-assessment. They have to prepare all the document that I have said before, which is CV, all the document for the personnel in charge in the lab, all the protocol, the validated protocol, all the list of the reagent, the list of the equipment. So they have to prepare all that documents. And then first is on-site documentation visit by the assessor assigned by the Department of the Standard Malaysia. So if they can prove that the documentation is adequate, so the next is on-site technical review. On-site technical review, so Department of Standard Malaysia will send assessors to inspect the management, the technical, the administrative staff. All these personnel will be interviewed, and also they have to do some testing. If that lab is for calibration lab, They must show the calibration record and overall record system, file, training record, validation, test performance data, proficiency testing record, that one of the element of the quality assurance, investigation, resolution record, and other related document will be examined during the technical review. So this accreditation procedure is very strict. So sometimes we spend more than weeks to prepare all this documentation and also to prepare ourselves before the inspection, before the on-site technical review. Okay, then we are waiting for the result. If we are accredited, if we are awarded with the accreditation, so it will last for 3 years. In Malaysia, it will last for 3 years. In UK, it will last for 4 years. Okay, however, during these 3 years, it is not just goyang kaki. Still, we have to do maintenance. The first surveillance is scheduled after 9 months from the date of renewal of accreditation. And then the second surveillance is scheduled after 1 year of that 9 months. Okay, and last, before the 3 months of expiry date of accreditation, we must be reassessment by the Standard of Malaysia. These all are the procedure to keep us on track, maintain all the quality assurance. Okay, so you can get some idea how strict an accredited lab is, to make sure that an accredited lab to maintain, to practice the good quality. A sound quality assurance system is essential for laboratory to consistently improve their laboratory process. Okay, so the system will help ensure and support the integrity of the result reported. Okay, everyone using the laboratory service can be confident that reported results are accurate, reliable, and reproducible. Okay, that's why within the 3 years of accredited period, still we have to do first and second surveillance and also reassessment. So these are all to make sure that our customer is confident. The reports are generated from our lab is accurate, reliable, and also reproducible. Okay, with that, we end our topic today. With that, Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, and bye-bye.